Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to this epic gamer video. So in World of Warcraft, there's been a long history of different class specs and builds going from different expansions and patches. Pretty much all of the classes in WoW have been overpowered at some point. However, in this video, we'll go over the 5 most overpowered specs in WoW history. The Burning Crusade Shadow Priest. So the second expansion in WoW, the Burning Crusade, saw a lot of classes get new gameplay changing abilities and talents. A lot of the specs that weren't so good in Classic WoW became quite significantly improved come the release of the Burning Crusade expansion. One spec that lucked out was the Shadow Priest. Shadow Priests before the Burning Crusade were mainly seen as a PvP spec and saw very limited use in raiding due to their mana issues compared to other DPS classes. However, in the Burning Crusade, they had a new problem, having too much mana. You see, the Shadow Priest was given one very important spell at the end of their talent tree called Vampiric Touch. This functions similar to Vampiric Embrace in the instead of converting shadow damage done to a target into group healing, it converted 5% of all shadow damage you inflicted into mana given to everybody in your group. This alone took the Shadow Priest from being a low priority spec to bring to a raid in Classic WoW into a must-have during the TBC. A raiding group in TBC would always bring Shadow Priests to keep their caster classes topped off with constant streaming of mana. Keep in mind, during this period of WoW, mana was a very limited resource, and very few classes could actually recover or restore people's mana. Shadow Priests didn't do as high DPS as the pure DPS classes could, but you would still see Shadow Priests not that far behind on DPS meters, making them well worth the group-wide healing, mana regen, and shadow vulnerability debuff provided to a raid, making them a S-tier class in TBC raiding. Classic WoW Fury Warriors. So Warriors in Classic WoW could possibly be the most played class. A lot of people play Warriors, and for good reason. It's the only tanking option for endgame raiding. However, what has a lot of people scratching their heads as to how strong they are is the Fury spec. Now in vanilla WoW, when the game wasn't as quite figured out, the Fury spec of Warrior focused on dual wielding weapons to do damage, kind of went under the radar. However, pretty much any Classic WoW speedrun record for raids has a majority raid composition of Fury Warriors. There is little reason to bring much of any other DPS role since Fury Warriors are so monstrous. The reason why? Fury Warriors are made for speed killing. Due to them not being reliant on any mechanics, procs, or systems taking place, they can do maximal DPS from the first second. Whereas rogues need to build up combo points, maintain slice and dice, and casters need to wait on spells to finish and damage over time spells to realize their potential. The Fury Warrior goes from 0 to 100 pretty much instantly, where typical raiding compositions in Classic WoW spend quite a lot of time clearing trash mobs in Classic WoW raids. The simplicity of the Fury Warrior's DPS mechanics allows it to be ideal for mowing down trash mobs in a few seconds. Any top-end raiding guild wanting to get a record will have about half of their raid compromising to Fury Warriors. They are quite overpowered for speed clears. Classic WoW Enhancement Shaman. Class specs in WoW are typically more balanced in the more modern expansions after Blizzard figured out what is OP and what is not OP. The Enhancement Shaman in particular in original vanilla WoW was absolutely feared due to its Wind Fury proc with the two-handed weapons, giving it a chance for 2 extra swings on melee attacks, which was enough to kill some classes in one shot. That, in combination with a ranged interrupt with damage on a 6-second cooldown amongst many other anti-spellcaster abilities, made this Enhancement Shaman a beast in the early days of WoW. Famous PvP videos like Unbreakable cemented its legacy as a beastly PvP spec. It's just unfortunate that they did not get the same love in raiding groups where they were forced to respec into Restoration. The Burning Crusade Restoration Druid. So Druids in Classic WoW were quite an odd class. They were typically the least played class due to its perception of being the jack of all trades and master of none. However, in TBC, the Druid had its claim to fame being one of the best PvP classes in the arena metagame. The main reason being due to its insane crowd control spell named Cyclone, which was kinda like Rogue's Gouge, except lasted even longer, and was ranged. Not to mention their Life Bloom receiving a huge buff of whenever it got dispelled would heal your ally for bonus healing, so the enemy team couldn't really do anything about your healing over time spells. In general, Druids crushed with pretty much any class in the 2v2 ladder back then. Classic WoW Retribution Paladin. So you may be thinking Retribution Paladins were not overpowered in Classic WoW, and you would be correct. However, in the early days of WoW, in the first few patches of vanilla WoW, the class ability named Reckoning had a huge oversight in its mechanics. The way Reckoning works today is after being hit with a critical strike, your Paladin stores an extra swing of its next attack up to 4 charges. However, during a short period of time after the launch of Vanilla WoW, Blizzard forgot to add a cap on how many charges of Reckoning you could get. As you can imagine, it didn't take long before some Paladins had the bright idea of farming Reckoning stacks and using it to one-shot things. This is exactly what happened. A Paladin in 2005 sat with his friend receiving critical strikes over and over and over again until he had over 1,800 plus stacks. He then walked over to the World Raid boss, Doomlord Kazakh, which normally requires a raiding group of 40, which he managed to essentially one-shot. This spread like wildfire, and Blizzard realized they messed up and hotfixed Reckoning within the day. Up until now, no class spec has ever been as strong as this, at the moment in time. Well guys, please drop a like and subscribe to see more videos like this. See you in the next video.